Hi, everybody. Um, this is Jawahar Alvi again. You guys can call me Juhi. Today, I'm over here again, and we're going to talk a little bit about prompting. So, prompting is another technique that we are using in the field of applied behavior analysis. But what I've seen is that a lot of prompting is being used by our parents in the home setting. Um, and what happens is that we prompt our kids so much that they get used to that prompting. And so, what I will like to tell you over here is that the definition of a prompt is something that is used to increase the likelihood that a child will provide the desired response. Which means that whatever response that you require from the child is going to be able to give you the correct response with that particular prompting procedure. And we do that all the time, right? We do that as parents, we do that as bosses, we do that as siblings. We always prompt other people. But what I've seen is that when we are working with children who have autism and other developmental disabilities, we do tend to prompt and then prompt again and then over prompt sometimes. What happens is that our kids, they become used to those prompts, and it becomes very, very hard for us to fade those prompts out. So it is extremely important that we work on fading those prompts out. What is fading? Fading is gradually reducing the prompt slowly so that the child can do those steps independently. Some children with autism spectrum disorder may need added support while initially learning a new skill. Prompts are provided to ensure your child will perform the desired response skill before making an error. Now, these are also known as cues, hints, checklists, and hand over hand. You are already doing it by providing a schedule at home. So if you're providing a visual schedule, you're reviewing checklists with them, you're modeling how to initiate a greeting. So for example, you're like, hey, can you say hi to Uncle Joey? Or can you say salam to your uncle? Or can you say, namaste or something to your uncle or aunt? That is a part of you modeling or giving them a prompt to talk to somebody who's in their environment. You can show them completed work and ask them to copy that. You can position a toy or a train in such a way that it's beside a track, and then you ask them to copy that or imitate that. So that these are all different prompts that we use in our environment when we are working with children or even with typically developing children. There are many different types of prompts. We have physical prompts in which we physically guide the child through the whole process. We have verbal prompts, which is verbally we are prompting the child on every step of the way. Model, so we are modeling for the child. For example, we're working in a discrete trial session and we tell the child, hey, sit like this, put your hand like this, look at me, and things like that. So that is called as modeling. Gestures are using gestures such as pointing, and then we're guiding the child to the correct response. Visuals are pictures. They could be picture schedules. They could be textual, textual pictures with text on it. They could be positional, which is placing the right answer or the right thing closer to the child so that they are able to answer, or they are going to be able to give the correct answer to the parents. Now I'm going to show you an example, and over here there is an example of fading a prompt, right? So in this example, what they're showing is that right here is an example of right there. So A. So first of all, they have the lines of the A very dark. Slowly they're fading it away and fading it away and fading it away so that the child is able to do the A by himself, and the child is able to do it in the right manner independently. So the prompts are over here are being faded out. In the same manner, if you look at this other example, which is right here, this is an example of prompt fading, which you go from a full fading prompt of, how to raise your hand or wave your hand, and they are slowly reducing the amount of prompts that should be given to the child at that time. Rules for prompting are: avoid unintentional prompts such as position of materials, voice inflection, facial expressions, and not changing the order of concepts of instruction. So make sure that when you're giving instruction to your children, those instructions are not monotonous, right? So for example, you just cannot be so robotic all the time and say, do this, stand up, sit down, do this, touch your nose, touch your head. No, you have to make sure that you are doing it in a way that is very, very variable, because as typically developing human beings, we try to be variable all the time. If it is not possible to prompt simultaneously with the instruction, prompt immediately following the instruction. So as soon as you give an instruction, you prompt right away, and you can use any of the prompts that we talked about. Reinforce unprompted responses. So for example, if a child does something which is without a response, you should be like, hooray, great job, you did such a good job. So you give reinforcement right away. Do not allow your child to fail repeatedly. So don't do that. Don't let your child fade out or fail, because you want to set them up for success. That's why you're prompting them. Fade your prompts gradually. Make the prompts less intrusive. For example, move from full physical prompt to partial physical prompt to light touch and then independent. As prompts are faded, remember to reinforce more independent responses. Provide more longer access to reinforcers for unprompted responses. What this means is that you have to make sure that if a child is doing something independently, you have to give them a lot of praise, a lot of reinforcement for that, so that they are able to do that response again and again and again. The difference between a verbal prompt and an instruction is an instruction informs the child that the task is, whereas verbal prompts are verbal hints or clues that help the child perform the task. All added instructions after the initial instructions are considered are called as verbal prompts. So for example, you're going to touch your child, put your coat on. If your child doesn't respond to your instruction and you need to repeat it to him or her again, this is considered as a verbal prompt. As previously noted, verbal prompts are difficult to fade, so you may choose to use another type of prompt for your child to be successful in putting on their coat, such as pointing to their coat. And I do want to emphasize, sometimes as parents, we over prompt, which is, put your coat on, put your coat on, put your coat on. And that's something that we don't do. If we have already given an instruction and we have prompted verbally, we need to wait, or we need to use another kind of prompt that we can fade away easily. So the lesson that we are learning today is we do use prompts so that we make our kids successful. We want to make our kids successful, but then we want to fade those prompts out in a systematic manner. We want to reinforce our kids for being independent in all of their responses, and we want to make our kids successful. We do not want our kids to use our prompts as a crutch. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. See you later.